Trump cabinet's secret weekly meeting just got out, Dems horrified when they find out what it's for. Many people believe that the United States has strayed way too far from the principles that we were founded on, and the president and his second-in-command are two of those people. America was built, not out of a desire to just expand someone's territory, but out of a necessity to have a place governed by the people who had God at their center. Of course, a government by the people and for the people will be guided by whatever the people want, and lately, the people seem to be wanting to steal from one another with bloated social programs, sit around and not produce and point fingers at anyone who tries to keep the peace. This is so incredibly sad, and it stems from a world where Christ isn't a factor in so many people's lives. Thankfully, America woke up, and whether for the sake of religion or economy, we managed to get someone in office who is concerned with doing the right thing. This has caused a huge shift in the way the White House is being run, including one major change that has liberals infuriated and conservatives crying tears of joy. Many of the upper-level cabinet members, as well as staffers, have begun having a regular Bible study, and reports say that it's as wonderful as you hope it would be. Via the Hill. Many of President Trump's cabinet members gather at a weekly session to study the Bible, the Christian Broadcasting Network, CBN, reported Monday. Ralph Drollinger, the founder of Capitol Ministries, says he leads a weekly Bible study with cabinet members such as Education Secretary Betsy DeVos, Energy Secretary Rick Perry, Health and Human Services Secretary Tom Price and CIA Director Mike Pompeo. It's the best Bible study that I've ever taught in my life. They are so teachable. They're so noble. They're so learned, Drollinger told CBN. Vice President Pence, who is a sponsor of the faith sessions, reportedly joins the group when his schedule allows. Mike Pence has uncompromising biblical tenacity and he has a loving tone about him that's not just a noisy gong or a clanging cymbal, Drollinger said in part. And then fourthly, he brings real value to the head of the nation. Drollinger praised Attorney General Jeff Sessions, who he said also attends the gathering, for quickly turning around and using the lessons of the weekly session. He'll go out the same day I teach him something and I'll see him do it on camera and I just think, wow, these guys are faithful, available and teachable and they're at Bible study every week they're in town, Drollinger told CBN, referring to Sessions. Drollinger, a former NBA player, founded his organization with the intent of spreading the Christian faith to lawmakers across the U.S. He has started similar Bible groups in dozens of state capitals as well as weekly studies in both chambers of Congress. A weekly Bible study group with cabinet members, Drollinger said, is likely the first of its kind in almost 100 years. Trump, who is invited to attend, receives a copy of the scripture teaching each week, according to CBN, which has interviewed the president. News like this is such a huge encouragement to evangelicals, who have felt like our country was wandering in the desert for the past 8 years. Our nation was essentially thumbing its nose at anything even remotely biblical while our former president was in the Oval Office, and the nation suffered because of it. Liberals and the media beat Americans over the head with the separation of church and state to the point that we were scared to have anything religious even on public property, which is a gross misinterpretation of the doctrine being cited. The concept of separating church and state was one taken from a quote that Thomas Jefferson wrote in a letter to the Danbury Baptist Association in 1802. He was attempting to assure them that they would never have to deal with the government meddling in what they could teach in their places of worship. That has been twisted beyond recognition to basically mean that Christians aren't allowed to act out their Christianity on government property. However, President Trump and those he's chosen to surround himself with see the difference and are working to change that. They've invited those who have strong religious beliefs to foster those while at work in the White House. Perhaps Americans have realized that those in office will be more unselfish and moral if they feel beholden to a higher power, or maybe they really want this country to turn back to God. But either way, this change is a huge relief to those who've been praying for a spiritual awakening in Washington. Share if you're happy to see the Bible welcome in the White House again. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe Breaking News 365 channel. Goodbye and see you again.